We want Congress to follow our lead. We want the Justice Department to follow our lead. We want Georgia officials to follow our lead over this cover-up. We're not forgetting about the lawfare. And as I mentioned last week, and I think it's worth reiterating, we were in court last week against Fani Willis's lawyers, and it was a really yet another extraordinary moment in terms of forcing accountability on this local district attorney, Fulton County, a local Democrat elected there, who single-handedly has been trying to jail and filed a case which is still over, is still hanging over President Trump's head to try to throw him in jail. And I talked about it in a quick video I did earlier this week.
Hey, so Judicial Watch attorneys were back in Fulton County last week arguing against Fani Willis's lawyers for access to information about her collusion with the Pelosi January 6th operation. Remember, she first denied in our lawsuit having any records. In fact, she never showed up in court to answer our lawsuit. That's why she was ordered to pay $22,000 in attorney's fees and costs to Judicial Watch recently. Last week, after arguing they had no records, and then later arguing they had some records, they confirmed they had 212 pages of records showing what looks to be collusion with the January 6th committee. Of course, they don't want to give any of those records to the American people. The court ordered her office to turn the records over to him so he could make sure they're being withheld lawfully. But in the end, they were caught red-handed, providing false information about their collusion with the January 6th committee to get Trump. They were forced to pay us money, and on top of that, they don't want to turn over the underlying documents. So this scandal continues, and Judicial Watch's heavy lifting will continue in court, though, to try to get the full truth about this awful abuse targeting President Trump.
So this is on top of Fani Willis being essentially thrown off the case because of her conflicts of interest because of her using tax money to pay her boyfriend to go after Trump. And then she follows up with this misconduct related to her handling of this simple FOIA request. And the reason we now know it's not simple is because she didn't want to admit, her office didn't want to admit to coordinating their Get Trump effort with the Democrats in Congress up here in Washington, D.C., the Pelosi gang running the January 6th committee. And now there are 212 pages of documents they didn't tell us about for months and months and months. And of course, they don't want to turn over any of the records to us. So thankfully, the court said, well, at least I'm going to look at them to see if there's any significant or legitimate privilege. And here's a little snippet from the court hearing in that regard.
Have I said things that leave either side with a lack of clarity as to what's happening next? Because I don't mean for that. I know it's a little bit amorphous because you want some time, Mr. Monroe, to consult with your client and flesh out, here's what I, meaning plaintiff petitioner, would like to see in this affidavit describing how the search was conducted. I'll enter an order that says I'm taking this under the 212 pages in camera to review that. So that's in the record. It's in the transcript right now, but that ought to be demarcated on this date. County attorney, you got 4 days to bring me the documents, or 48 hours, or whatever it is. And then we'll all know where those are. Because if I get distracted by something else that maybe happened in 2024 and there's someone sitting in jail, then you'd be able to say, Judge, you've been sitting on only 212 pages for a month. That's, 12 hours a page. Let's go. And I'll say, you're right. I got to turn back to that. But at least there'll be that marker saying, here's where we are in the process.
Well, I'm glad I saw that again. I didn't realize he had ordered her to turn him over within 4 days. So right now, that court has the records that we want, right? So we're going to have to still litigate over whether we get the records, whether the search was appropriate. This is now the fifth search they conducted in order to get records. And this is why we've asked for a special master, which would be a court-appointed individual who would oversee and be in part responsible for making sure the search is appropriate. among other issues. And we still don't have a clue as to how they searched or where they searched and why they keep on finding records every time they do a new search. And plus, she didn't show up in court to answer our lawsuit. As far as I'm concerned, she waived all these privileges. You don't show up, you lose. Literally, she's already lost. And this is quite the scandal. And of course, Congress has these emails, or at least they ought to have any communications. And there needs to be an investigation as to where those records are. And if they are not there, meaning they've been deleted, I hope there's consequences. And that's up to Speaker Johnson and his team to figure that out. I mean, right now, we are doing more than any other entity, and more successfully at this point, to hold Fani Willis accountable to the rule of law. Your Judicial Watch. So our team of lawyers, Mr. Monroe, our local lawyer, Russ Nobile, our team, Paul, and everyone else up here in Washington, D.C. that runs our legal department, I'm honored to be represented as president of Judicial Watch, the corporate plaintiff in this regard. We've got a great team. And we want Congress to follow our lead. We want the Justice Department to follow our lead. We want Georgia officials to follow our lead over this cover-up in Fulton County. I mean, Judicial Watch is happy to do the heavy lifting. It's what we're here for, right? But isn't it outrageous that we're the ones doing it? That we're the ones figuring out that they were hiding collusion records? Congress has been asking for these records. They've gotten nowhere. They've literally gotten nowhere. So more needs to be done, and your Judicial Watch will continue to hold not only Fani Willis, but the other co-conspirators in their plot, the Democratic left-wing plot to destroy our republic by trying to jail Trump and worse. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like our video down below.